Hi, my name is Ben Nisbet, and I'm joined today by Lauren Roth. Lauren is in her second season as the concertmaster of the Tucson Symphony Orchestra, and on October 18th and 19th at the Catalina Foothills Auditorium, she'll be making her concerto debut with the Tucson Symphony Orchestra in a performance of the violin concerto of Giancarlo Menotti. Lauren, welcome.
Thank you. Good, thank you.
I'd like to start off by asking you, what is it about this piece that really drew you to it? And what are some of the things that you really personally enjoy about this music?
It's a good question. I actually didn't know this piece until just a few years ago. A friend of mine who is a conductor asked me if I wanted to play the Giancarlo Menotti violin concerto with him. He felt like I had an appropriate sound for that concerto. And my response was, the what concerto? And we obviously talked about it, and I was exposed to this piece and discovered a real gem of the violin repertoire that I loved kind of from the beginning. It's very understandable to an audience who hasn't heard it before, maybe if you have. In 3 movements, it's just fast, slow, fast, and it's really a pleasure to play.
Giancarlo Menotti is primarily known as an opera composer. He won a couple of Pulitzer Prizes for his work in that genre. His more famous works include The Consul, which he did win one of those Pulitzer Prizes for, and Amal and the Night Visitors. This concerto comes from around the same time as Amal and the Night Visitors, if I remember correctly. But unlike those operas, it's not very widely performed, and it's not very widely recorded either. But I gather that you would find that to be somewhat of an advantage in crafting a performance of this piece.
I consider it a huge advantage, actually, to perform something that isn't well recorded or extensively performed. Obviously, when you do a piece like that, a staple of the repertoire, the Brahms or the Beethoven violin concerto, the performer, as well as the audience members, come into the hall with so many ideas of what they've already heard, and so many versions and interpretations that they've kind of discovered for themselves and that they've decided that they liked. And when you take a piece like the Menotti violin concerto, something that even the performer herself said, what, and raised an eyebrow to not very long ago, obviously you are met with something that doesn't have those preconceived notions or ideas. And so to me, it's a huge advantage to play and perform and prepare a piece that, that has nothing but my own kind of stamp of interpretation on it.
And in contrast to that, the following week, the Tucson Symphony will be performing the most recorded and performed violin concerto in the repertoire, possibly anyway, the Tchaikovsky violin concerto. So I would imagine that this grants you a lot of freedom when you're really putting this together and getting on stage and doing it for the first time.
Absolutely it does, and that was a lot of the draw to do a piece like this. Again, in considering what I wanted to play and what would make sense for the orchestra at this time, obviously lots of ideas were thrown around, and I did want to steer clear of something that people knew really, really well. It's kind of a joy to be able to perform and present something to a new audience that hasn't heard this piece before, and it's a TSO premiere.
As the concertmaster of an orchestra like this, you have to learn tons and tons of music, and you have to be really, really solid on every single note that you play. So what goes into preparing to play a concerto right in the middle of the early part of the season?
A lot of hours of practice goes into it. More hours than I feel like I have, maybe. I don't know. It's a challenge. It's a huge challenge to prepare programs weekly, and then of course one of the programs that just comes up on one of those weeks happens to be a huge concerto. So obviously I've been working on this already. It's something that is relatively comfortable, but that I'm just going to have to continue to touch up and keep fresh until that weekend in October.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that weekend in October. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to hear and to play as well. You can log on to www.tucsonsymphony.org to purchase your tickets. The concerts are October 18th at 8 p.m. and October 19th at 2 p.m. at the Catalina Foothills Auditorium. Also featured on the concert will be Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring, Souvenirs by Samuel Barber, and Musica Celestis by Aaron J. Kernis. I hope to see you at the concert, and have a nice day.